if you can create a sonic, mnemonic, and overall audio strategy for a brand with all of the brand pillars and insights and do it elegantly and intelligently, then how can that not add value to a brand? As much as brands have colours and logos, they really should have an audio signature too.
Welcome to Created for Creatives, the podcast where creatives talk about, well, creative. I'm Joe Hawkins, your host for this episode, and with me is Abby C., the head of sound, film and TV at MassiveMusic in Sydney, and Sam Ashwell, the creative partner and head sound engineer at 750 miles per hour in London. Now, we love to know how our guests got started in the industry, and for Sam, it was his interest in music. But even after 10 years of guitar lessons, he couldn't play a song. So it's fair to say he wasn't a great musician, but he did discover he was quite musical.
Started collecting studio equipment when I was like 16, 17, writing tunes, and then went to university to degree in sound and music technology and realised I wasn't going to write tunes for a living, so I got a job as a runner at 750. And here I am 23 years later.
Yeah.
How I got started. I was found by the MD. He called my uni lecturer and asked for a recent graduate with a musical background. And my course wasn't a music course, but all my projects were to do with music. So she put me up for the job. I got to sit in with a sound designer and just watch him work. And then at the same time, my boss had a television show that he wanted to get in. And so I stayed back late and did that with the junior crew. And so got to learn the ropes really quickly because I'd be watching techniques and creative discussions in the day and then trying to execute things at night. And it's been this same sort of thing ever since, just absorbing information and then trying to execute and learning all the tricks and trying to develop your own style. I say that when I started out, it was like walking into an embrace because I had an experience with my course where there was a lot of competition and, you know, classical music world, it's very elitist. I got it, but I wasn't in it. And so going into an environment where there was a group of people who were all just so open and willing to share and like, listen to this and like excited little kids. I'm still absolute fan of when music and sound and voice work together. I do think it becomes more than the sum of its parts. It's magic. I'm still a fangirl of the medium, 100%.
Your musical background, you were a classically trained violinist, is that right?
Yes, that's right. I was one of those little girls that played violin and piano from age 4 and played in orchestras and competitions and then rebelled against it all and tried to do my own stuff. Then decided I had complete stage fright and didn't want to play anymore. But the grounding is brilliant. It's to have that training in harmony and rhythm and how to manipulate all of that and how exciting it can be when it all works together. You know, nothing has gone to waste. And I tell my mum that when she disappointedly says, you don't play anymore. Yeah.
But you're using all the
skills
and the theory.
Yes.
And that's coming to the fore in the work you do now?
I think so.
Yep.
It's a good foundation.
And Sam, your musical background, so...
Shady.
So
Yep,
DJing...
Did a lot of that for years. I mean, I spent my youth just record shopping. I used to bunk off school, go record shopping. I mean, I got 7,000 records. So yeah, music is very much my foundation of getting into sound design. It kind of is what gave me my foothold, as it were, and kind of helped me get to where I am now, I guess.
When you work in sound and audio, you're kind of listening out for, I would imagine, new sounds. We're here at a casino resort. I'm sure part of your ear is listening to little chimes and sound effects and all sorts of things that are going on. I think about Billie Eilish and her brother producer Phineas. There was a track that they did where they used the Sydney traffic light sound as a hi-hat and put it into one of their songs. Is that something that is sort of subconsciously, when you walk around, you're always listening for new inspiration or new sounds, or do you get your iPhone out and voice note a sound?
I carry a little microphone everywhere with me that goes into my phone. So
You do?
Yeah. So I do record sounds around me, and I guess you're always listening to stuff and always building up a bank of stuff, even subconsciously, to reference. Especially if you do a lot of realism work, you need to know how things sound because everybody knows how the real world sounds, so you need to be able to replicate it. Sometimes you sit there and purposely listen to the world around you, but I do record stuff as well. It's quite fun, like a rattly window or I don't know, dishwasher or something. I go to someone's house and just hear something that's kind of cool. Little motors, always quite fun. Got an espresso one the other day that's going to be something soon.
You record it not really knowing what you might use it for.
No, it's just to build up a little sample library. I think an engineer's or sound designer, their sound library is one of their biggest strengths. You know, obviously you can buy a lot of amazing libraries. We were talking about yesterday how you can hear libraries in some people's work now. And the work sounds amazing, but it's because the libraries are so good. And obviously you need to use the right sound. But building up a bespoke library and having things that you can go to quickly, because part of our game is to do with speed and achieving things quickly. We don't get months to mess around, so you need just to be able to quickly go to stuff. So having that library is really useful.
And I think we're in this game because we get a kick out of new sounds and just being aware of what's going on, like the trends, the films, the music, and just collecting in that kind of way. So subconsciously, just always working, but really just also trying to have conversations in noisy rooms. That's a little, we're just trying to focus in on that. Because we're working in audio, everyone's got a little bit of like needing.
You get as good as also to tuning out the world around you as much as listening to it, and quite good at blocking out all those casino sounds and all that stuff around you. I think you get the ability maybe just to tune out quite well, which I use often.
Right. As long as you don't use it in this podcast interview.
No, it's normally when people give me feedback.
Right. So when it comes to doing something, I suppose as subjective as audio and sound design, what sounds good to you and what you know is going to be best for whatever you're putting the music or sound to. When it comes to a client coming into the room, hearing something for the first time and giving you feedback that you know is challenging, how do you address the balance of ensuring that what you're doing is kept as intact as possible? How do you, I guess, get around the politics of talking to clients when it comes to music and sound?
I think when you've been in this game, communication and receiving feedback and learning how to navigate that successfully is part of the gig. And also you have the tools under your fingers, so it can be really quick to take on some feedback, try it out, and then A and B things. And then, you know, I've listened, we've tried it, and you can hear for yourself which one's better. So I think just working through just methodically and just being really open-minded, because you never know if someone has some other intention for the film or a moment, and you just try and help them achieve that. So that's interpreting, isn't it? Interpreting what people might feel and need.
I think what you said is seeing feedback as challenges, and you get given a challenge, but you have to action it and make something good out of that. So as long as someone doesn't try and give you the solution, which I don't really accept people giving me solutions, I'm happy to take problems on and then I find the solutions, and my job is to find a good solution and one that I'm happy with creatively. Feedback's a positive thing, you know, everyone gets to have a say. You know, it's a dance, isn't it, between everybody. It's not just our film or our work. So feedback is good, but you take it as a challenge and you try and give them back something that is good in your opinion, but meets the feedback or challenge you've been presented.
Very diplomatically answered by
Both of us.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Abby, I've known you or worked with you for a while, and the thing that always struck me was you were possibly the only female sound engineer in any production studio that I'd been to, which I thought was amazing. But I still don't see too many in the same space. Do you see that as something that needs to be corrected, or is there a reason why there aren't too many females, you know, going into that side of the business?
I think it's all changing. Like, technical roles have been the domain of men for so many years, but it's shifting. And there's a real awareness that we all have the same skill sets, and given the opportunity, you can now have a great career in sound if you wish to, or, you know, cinematography or any of those other kind of technical roles within the filmmaking and sound process. It's just, I think, something that in time will be rebalanced, is my hope. I've never consciously thought about being the only female, as it was said, in the industry. I think because, I don't know, I just didn't think about it.
Are things different in the UK?
No.
At all? No.
They're not. It's terrible. It's terrible. There's only really one female, a lady who works for us, Giselle, who's amazing. I don't know of any others. And not in the shorter form. I think in longer form, there's definitely more once you get into features and TV stuff, which we only dip our toe into. Our primary stuff is just the short form, the commercials. It's the same with editors. It's getting better. My sister's an editor. And at one point, it was like her and two others, but now there's about 7 or 8. But I mean, 7 or 8 compared to, 60, 70, 80, 100 men, it's definitely still not balanced.
No, it doesn't sound like it. Turning to your jury, so you're both sitting on the music and sound jury this year, which started yesterday.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Have you started discussing the work collectively as a group yet?
There's a few little sidebars. Like at lunch, we've gone, I really like that piece of work.
Right.
Or that piece of work is really good, or I don't understand why there's been so many things put into maybe not the right category and should we move it. There's little conversation like that, but we haven't constructively talked about it yet.
Why don't you sidebar with us now? Abby, can you tell us some of the spots that are really impressing you or things that have stood out for you?
A lot of work I like. I'm probably going to be giving Sam props because I think Sam's done it from the... So,
I mean, hey, go ahead.
There is some really great sound design and some great filmmaking. There's a certain style of filmmaking that's really trendy and hard cut kind of sound design, which have all been filled in beautifully. But I think the stuff that's really moved me have been stories that have had the more filmic, cinematic, understated, emotional story, and seeing how the sound design and the music have worked to really, on multiple watches, just really move me. In particular, there's one spot about an autistic girl, and I think that one is some of the best internalisation sound design and also external abrasive sound design all melded into this lovely story arc. It's a girl going through her day, going to school with her family, and it's a really beautifully done film. And bravo to Sam.
Thanks.
So that's one of yours?
One.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's nice.
So you might feel uncomfortable about talking about your own work. Is there anything that's piqued your interest?
There's some stuff that is executed really well, but I can't hear any more cars come past with gunshots on to make them like... The style has just been done too much for me, so it's been executed well, but it's not maybe the better work in there. There's that hoops thing, the people going through the hoops music track. That one, I really like that one. I quite like that trading thing at home. I think that's kind of pretty well done. I always like the New York Times stuff. The sneaker thing is good.
It's just written so beautifully.
Yeah.
Those
it's
New
just,
York Times spots.
It's a nice bit of work. That the mix on it's lovely. I like that water thing with the fire that you like the music on. That's pretty cool. Yeah, there's a few things in there that are good, for sure.
Was there, or are there differences between the entries you're hearing and seeing this year compared to last year? Has there been a bit of a shift?
Maybe it's not as strong this year, if I can say that. I think maybe last year there was more clear cut, oh my God, that's amazing. Whereas this year, maybe not so many. But we haven't also discussed yet, and I haven't had my opinion changed on things. But we're still only on day 2.
So that may,
it could change.
Your opinion
especially
could change.
with music stuff. I'm very open to being convinced why, because music isn't my field so much for re-records and adapts and all that stuff. So I'm open to all the other experts in the room to kind of convince me or tell me why something is genuinely a good adapt or a re-record or a score or a sync. So there was definitely a lot more manoeuvrability there for me.
Last year, there was a bit of a discussion about sonic branding and sonic signatures. McDonald's I'm Loving It is probably the most popular, recognisable one. Is it a little bit of a fad, or you can see some real value in actually producing a really good sonic signature?
I think there's incredible value. I'm loving it. How long has that been in the public sphere? And it's just had this opportunity to resonate, be remembered, and it's added value and brand loyalty because of recognition. And if you can do that, create a sonic mnemonic an overall audio strategy for a brand with all of the brand pillars and insights and do it elegantly and intelligently, then how can that not add value to a brand? As much as brands have colours and logos, they really should have an audio signature too. I love seeing the trend of people being more aware of it, and it's not such an afterthought these days.
Yeah. What constitutes a bad audio logo?
I think it's when it doesn't gel with the brand personality, when you're trying too hard to stand out for standing out's sake. For example, abrasive sounds or things that are quirky, but they don't resonate. And the other thing that's not good for audio logos is to not keep them going. You really need the time. That would be bad practice, I would say.
To continually keep changing it.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't like it when you don't get the branding in every key, because otherwise when you've got the track, it's out of key with the music. So that really annoys me.
So you like to have
I like to have
options.
a suite of every single branding in every single key possible so I can lay it into the music properly.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Ruins the end of the ad. You've just built this magical thing and then suddenly this comes in and it's all out of tune.
Just throws it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It leaves you with a bad taste.
Yeah.
So I don't think that does a brand any good at all.
When it comes to the power of audio and its ability to convey emotion, and I'm thinking more maybe in a traditional sense of a TV spot, for example, or a radio ad. What do you think is the most powerful tool in conveying emotion? Would you say it was the voiceover and their tone and their delivery, or would you say it was music?
It can be anything, can't it? Yeah.
If there is a voiceover, then it has to convey the emotion, because that's the thing that everyone listens to first. It's like dialogue is king in a mix, meaning voiceover. But really, music is such a shortcut to emotion.
Yeah. It's just depending on the job and the film, I think. There's always something that gives the emotion to the film. Could be the dialogue, could be the voiceover, could be the music, could be the sound design, could be the lack of any of them, could be the negative space, the silence in them that gives the emotion as well. So.
But they're all working sort of in concert together.
Yeah.
Audio tools and AI, that in the last 12 months has just become something that potentially has thrown the audio side of the business on its head with AI voiceover, AI sound effects, AI written scores. I mean, albeit they're all in their infancy and quite bad. But are there any AI tools that you're using or incorporating in your practices? And what are your thoughts around AI?
Dialogue cleanup and stuff like that, restoration. There's a lot of programs that use AI under the hood. It's not necessarily known as AI. These programs help you clean up production audio that maybe you wouldn't have been able to clean up once upon a time.
It is so powerful now.
It's amazing, yeah.
You have like 3 knobs and you can say more voice, less ambience, less reverb.
Yeah.
And suddenly you've saved production, like for a TV series, you've saved them time in ADR and studio time and all of that.
And ADR is such a nightmare because you've got to get the performance back and then you've got to put it in the room and you've got to do those things. But if you can save the production audio, it's always the better way to go. You know, the performance is there, they're in the mode, they're in, on set. So I think from that point of view, some of it's really useful. There's some couple of new things I got recently which are mind-blowing, what they can do to dialogue, like even sort camera audio out and stuff. It's amazing. I'm not so into the music splitting stuff that people do because it doesn't really work, where you take a track and you split it out into stems. It all sounds like it's underwater. It all sounds like bad YouTube MP3s, but give it 5 years and
it'll get there.
That's going to be there. So...
But the dialogue cleanup, can't tell you how much time that we would spend as part of our polishing of a film in dialogue restoration. So it is just brilliant. Yeah. AI is such a great tool in that. Something that might have taken 13 processes is now touch of a button, really.
Yeah,
so I love my new plugins.
Yeah, and I think if you embrace AI in the right way, I think it can be really powerful. I think you can use it creatively and you can use it technically. Maybe the future can get darker, but right now I think there's some really cool stuff out there. It's worth exploring. It's really good.
Yeah, so the AI tools that enhance
our creativity.
Audio, your creativity. But AI as a creation tool for a new voice or a piece of music, you think that's maybe a long way off, or you're just not embracing those things yet?
We've dabbled a little bit in AI-generated voice, and there's still a lot of restrictions with IP and things like that. So it will get there, and I think it's great in the area of disability and being able to give a voice to people who can't speak, but that's going to then flow into our work. And I'm getting a lot of things with AI-generated guide voices and things like that. No one's won the job yet, but humans are still...
I had one with an AI voice on the other day, and they spent a month trying to find a voiceover to beat it because they'd all fallen in love with the AI voice, and that's slightly dangerous. So there's definitely a few little creation things that are good, but I try not to embrace it, but also make sure I don't get left behind. So I'm kind of sitting on the fence.
Yeah, one foot in both camps.
Yeah.
What makes the LIAs different as a show to come and judge, aside from it being in Vegas? Is there something that makes this show stand apart?
I think the LIAs are amazing in that instead of throwing an award ceremony, they put all the money back from all the award entry fees into education. And I think that's just outstanding. Just having the calibre of people that they have come and give talks to people who are here to learn and be receptive and open to all of that advice and inspiration. That's where I think this award, it's a standout from the others in that sense.
What she said.
Okay.
No, the discussions have always been very, very strong, and I think it sets itself apart a little bit from other things I've worked on or judged on. And I really respect everyone on the jury, every single one I've been on. People are so much masters of their craft on this jury, so it's great.
Yeah, awesome. Abby, Sam, it's been a pleasure having you here. Fantastic conversation. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Drew.
Thank you.
Abby C is the head of sound, film and TV at MassiveMusic Sydney. And Sam Ashwell is a creative partner and head sound engineer at 750 miles per hour in London. They're both judges in the 2023 London International Awards. I'm Joe Hawkins, the creative director of Eardrum in Sydney and one of the hosts of Created for Creatives. The producer is Sarah Knights. The theme music is by Brian Yessian of Yessian Music. The manager is Larissa Levy from the London International Awards. This podcast is an Eardrum production.